Welcome to Decentralized News. Give us 30 minutes and we'll keep you at the tip of the spear in the cryptoverse with the biggest headlines of the week. I'm your host, Piter, joined as always by Aussie. Your time is valuable, so let's get right into it. As an overview today, there's a Hong Kong, Bitcoin, and ETH ETF approval news. We're going to touch on the ETF flows in the U.S. There was the Iran-Israel conflict escalation that affected the markets. Uniswap Wells notice, Vitalik investment discovery, little macro news, and altcoin speedrun. Real quick, thank you for all the subscriptions. We hit 300. We're very proud of that. Thank you for your support. Just to throw out some goals, we're going to go for 10 likes and 5 subscribers today. So if you'd like to consider liking and subscribing, we'd certainly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Kick us off with the lead story here, Ozzy.
Yeah, let's dive right into this. The Hong Kong's SEC, or as they're known in Hong Kong, the SFC, just one letter down, approves their spot Bitcoin and spot Ethereum ETFs. So that's massive news, beating the US to the punch with the spot ETF, Ethereum ETF approvals. Jeez, I can't believe I had to repeat that 4 times. But according to their anticipated schedules, the SFC is looking at an official launch date around a week from now. So this is the first jurisdiction to approve a spot Ethereum ETF. Massive for the market, massive for Ethereum, really, that they are now approaching the spot ETF realm. Hong Kong obviously was behind the EU, Canada, and the US in approving the spot Bitcoin ETF and wanted to get out ahead this time with Ethereum. We're still waiting on news from the US SEC, who is currently deliberating on an Ethereum ETF, and they have already verified that there are regulatory constraints that prohibit the ETFs from being traded in China. These ETFs are going to be limited to Hong Kong. So, interesting news for Ethereum and the Ethereum spot ETF. But
yeah, one of the things that was noted, there's some articles saying it's official, or it's been acknowledged, is that in mainland China, you won't be able to buy it. There was also some talk from Bloomberg Analysis, Mr. Balkunis, about, while this is it's hard to argue this is not positive news, very positive news, opens up markets, but the fees will be higher compared to US, so to expect it to be some huge thing, and no access to mainland China, just to have some tempered about what's possible with these ETFs.
Absolutely. I think this is probably something that's going to be small, especially if you look at the Hong Kong ETF market, which is only about 50 billion in total assets right now. And with the restrictions for mainland China, you're not having access to that many more billions of dollars. Right now, there are 3 companies that are approved, which are Becerra, China AMC, and Harvest, which are relatively small players compared to giants like BlackRock. However, I think the big positive news is with Ethereum. The Ethereum spot ETF, even though they might not see massive inflows right away, higher fees, Hong Kong, China relations, everything like that, Gary Gensler and the head of the Hong Kong SFC have had meetings several months back just discussing both Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. And so this was seen as something that led to the approvals in Hong Kong. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this might be positive news for the Ethereum spot ETFs in the US as well.
It's either that or he was telling them that, get ready, we're going to push it all offshores so you can have it. But yeah, I hope that, I think generally speaking, the market thinks it's positive.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's hard to take ETFs as negative news unless you're Maxi. But I think it's...
But also positive for, like you said, for the expectations with the U.S. markets. It seems like that's approved.
Yeah. I'm still not bullish on a May approval, but I am bullish that we will see an approval this year. So let's look at how the ETFs are doing in the US right now. We've seen today, just looking at one day inflows, outflows, we've seen an overall outflow of about 24.5 million. Not substantial, compared to what we've seen on other days, but it is a net negative day and actually hurts the record. Although BlackRock has had a net positive day again, they've added overall in the last 7 days about 7,000 Bitcoin. Fidelity's added about 1,300, and ARK and Bitwise have added about 1,300 between them as well. We've seen Invesco lose a little bit of Bitcoin, and Grayscale continues to have outflows, with outflows of about 1,800 Bitcoin today and about 11,500 coin over the last 7 days. So only
314,000 left.
Yeah.
The wild card is out of the market. Yeah, hearing that always makes me wonder, and especially with all the volatility this week, how the new ETF holders are holding up and what they think of all this volatility. You come for the volatility, but do you stay for the volatility?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is institutional investors, and they're probably allocating 1 or 2% in their overall portfolio. So generally speaking, I don't think that this phases them, because they look at their overall portfolio and that's what they're expecting. And if you look at when we had the approvals, most of them are still sitting up. They're probably up 10 or 12K at the very least, if not more, if they were in early. And so that's still a pretty big percentage gain compared to what they'd be getting in the standard stock market.
Yeah, it's a good point. A lot of it is, or especially that maybe what's coming, more institutional investment, like this 1-2% idea. But some of the early movers in the ETF might have been people who manage their own portfolios, and maybe they're trying to retire in a few years or something like that, and they aped in a little bit. I wonder how they're feeling.
Yeah, but I feel like the people that probably aped in are probably Bitcoin, people that hold regular Bitcoin anyways and just wanted to hold in their retirement accounts. So
already have self-custody Bitcoin.
Yeah, they're just, yeah. Or they're people that have been watching Bitcoin for years but didn't trust using Coinbase or something, and so they're
Right.
used to seeing those price changes. I don't think we were onboarding a lot of new retail users, people that aren't watching this asset beforehand. So that being said,
Yeah, let's get into the news about why it dumped a little bit this week.
yeah, I mean, looking at just what's happened in the last couple days, on Bitcoin plummeted about more than 8% on heels of the Iran drone attack on Israel. We're seeing escalating tension there, and the fear of a wider conflict has generally caused crypto traders to sell Bitcoin. They were the first to react to the news because traditional financial markets were closed for the weekend. So this was a weekend attack, and so it happened on April 13th. So, crypto being a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week market was able to react, while the U.S. stock exchange was not.
Yeah, and altcoins got hit even harder. There was some fear in the market. Yeah, interesting to see how the crypto community reacts. Maybe there is the argument that can lead people to Bitcoin. However, volatile news in a volatile market.
Absolutely, and we don't have the charts for this, but I know it's been discussed before a lot, especially in trading communities that I'm in. Bitcoin tends to perform poorly at the beginning of conflicts, but once a conflict is established, it tends to outperform. It tends to perform well during conflicts. This has to do potentially with people flocking to Bitcoin as a safe haven, but that, who knows, nothing ever is exactly the same. It just rhymes. So we'll have to watch that. And this was built on a dip that was already happening. So there was already a lot of fear in the market when this news came out. And so I think it probably ended up being even bigger than it would have been normally, with Uniswap having received a Wells notice from the... There's no official lawsuit yet, but they have received a Wells notice, which is generally a precursor to a lawsuit. So worth mentioning there. You got any more news on this Wells notice?
It was confirmed on April 10th, but there is some quotes from Uniswap, and they seem like they're in a fighting mood. Today, this is a quote from their chief legal officer, Marvin Amori. Today's Wells notice against Uniswap is disappointing, but not unexpected from the SEC. If the SEC had authority over self-custodial products, it could tell us how to register them. It can't. And so it doesn't. It has provided no clarity and no guidance. So they sound like they're in a fighting mood.
Yeah, it sounds like Uniswap is not going to take this lightly. They do have considerable resources as the largest DEX out there trading on essentially all Ethereum and EVM chains for the most part. They've got billions of volume daily. And so they are probably got nice coffers ready for this. Apparently, the investigation has been going on since 2021, so they're prepared.
But your mention of coffers is interesting because you have someone like, there are things that the SEC is criticized for not protecting us from. Some of the things that happened at the bottom of the bear mark, for example, FTX. But they're going after what seemed like pretty good, legitimate players in the space.
Yeah, it's very complicated, especially because, and I think this is why we're hearing the Wells notice now, is Uniswap was talking about doing their fee switch. So holders of the Uni token receiving part of the fees that are generated from Uniswap swaps as rewards. And in general, this was seen as a great move to help add governance, incentivize governance, and spread that liquidity back into the crypto market. But I think it's the exact reason why the SEC is going after them. They're essentially, they see that as a dividend, or makes the Uni token even more of a security. And so the SEC has decided to step in and protect us, quote unquote, from Uniswap, which has generally been a pretty clean player in the space.
Uniswap. That's not officially a lawsuit yet, basically. Just it's a Wells notice. It's not officially a lawsuit yet, but we'll see what happens. Basically, I was just transitioning.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with the SEC and Uniswap. Maybe everything that's going on with Coinbase and other players in the space will dissuade the SEC, or maybe it will push Uniswap away from doing their fee switch for now, and as a way to appease the SEC. We will see. But they seemed in a fighting mood, so I don't think they'll back off. But Vitalik is sparking some discourse after depositing 100 ETH into Railgun. It was pretty interesting. Lots of people got up in arms about this, talking about the use of a privacy tool. So Railgun is a privacy dApp, which is EVM compatible, and uses privacy features for on-chain lending and token swaps, employing ZK snarks, an encryption based model with zero knowledge technology, and it just helps prove that a blockchain participant possesses an asset or data without revealing what it is. And Vitalik said privacy is normal, and explained that Railgun supported it and without compromising security. That was interesting to see. Vitalik has come out and spoken in favor of the founder of Tornado Cash, I believe, and he actively used Tornado Cash as well. I don't think that this is new from Vitalik, but some people were not so big fans of him for doing that and for talking so highly of privacy tools.
I'd never heard of this token before, this protocol, but it's still below 100 million market cap, and it jumped 140% on the news. It's down a little bit. But yeah, interesting. It's not financial advice. That's something I'll be investing in. It seems more like a whale game. You got to buy it on a DEX with ETH, so you'll be paying some fees to get into it. And it's already pumped, so it looks risky.
Yeah, I wouldn't invest in it. There's a lot of them out there, but they're useful tools. I use them a lot in airdrop farming. They're super, super useful in, send a bunch of ETH to one wallet and then spread it out to 10 or 20 different ones, but not have any of them linked by using Railgun or Change Now or Houdini Swap, World Privacy. There are tons of these tools out there. And so I think really privacy on chain is still important. You're still going to have that, and you still need that, even if there's public ledger.
We touched on some of the fun. There was the Iran-Israel widening of that conflict over there. There was the SEC Wells notice. But the other thing that kind of kicked off earlier in the week was a change in sentiment from the Federal Reserve and pushing out this possible pivot. Last week's CPI and PPI both kind of came in hot, and the Before that, we had unemployment, which was fairly positive. So this has just pushed it out further and further, it seems like.
Yeah, we've seen a pretty major shift in sentiment with CPI and core CPI both coming in at 0.4% month over month. Expectations for both were 0.3, and that matches last month's hot reading of 0.4 as well. Not great when we were hoping for decreasing CPI or at least steady CPI, but year over year number has now climbed to 3.5 from 3.2, and core CPI remains steady at 3.8 when we were expecting a cut. So that caused a lot of FUD in the market, a lot of fear, because you're not really seeing any strong news that would encourage the Fed to pivot, especially with the jobs numbers being positive. And then PPI didn't provide much comfort, also coming in hot at 2.1% year over year, down up from 1.6, and 2.8 up from 2.7. So not great, and that's really pushed our pivot table to a potential July 30 pivot date, with June pivot numbers now looking at a 78% chance of no cut and a 22% chance of a cut in June, with May staying steady at almost a 98% chance of no cut. We were looking last week at about a 60-40% chance of a cut in June, and so this is really pushed out timelines another month and a half for a potential cut, and every time there seems to be new data, we're seeming to push out even more.
I think it's important to remember these numbers change all the time. They're fun to look at to get an idea of what's going on today, but they can change quickly. And even this week, we have retail sales coming out, some housing data, housing starts in existing homes. Start to get some unemployment numbers, initial jobless claims coming out. And then next week, we have more inflation data, PCE. So this will all affect it. But yeah, that's the way things stand right now.
Yeah.
But even with the FUD from the Fed, sort of like FUD from them, just expectations getting pushed out, not really positive for the market. And the war and the Wells Notice news, it's not all negative. There's the Hong Kong ETF and altcoins and DeFi, they keep building. We have a lot in the Speedrun today.
Oh yeah, the Speedrun is super thick. You want to start us off?
Chainlink, a very interesting token. I've always followed Chainlink. They introduced Transporter, an app designed to facilitate crypto transfers across different blockchains, powered by the CCIP, which is, I'm not super tech, but the one thing I do understand about this is it's bringing revenue to Chainlink.
Absolutely. So big news.
More the CCIP.
Yeah, more news for interoperability with Chainlink, and big news on the airdrop and kind of airdrop hunting front. EigenLayer's data availability has gone live on mainnet. EigenLayer coming out strong with their mainnet now, and that means I think we're getting closer and closer to a potential airdrop.
Yeah, I know for those in the airdrop, EigenLayer is it's a name I hear all the time. I don't do a lot of airdrop.
EigenLayer is like a data availability layer, but they're also looking to build a active restaking where you basically provide security to other blockchains using ETH. So Phantom or AVAX or Polygon, technically, you could have validators that are set up on ETH that will go validate and provide security on those blockchains as well, helping make new blockchains cheaper and increasing rewards for ETH stakers. A dual sword there. Another kind of interesting piece of news is that 1inch has launched a Web3 debit card in collaboration with MasterCard and Banks, BANX.
Yeah, I like the quote from the press release. Your clip is about to go from hold to spend online and in person. So it's fun to imagine the possibilities there, see if it actually gets used.
Yeah, very interesting. And I know you're into memes, so I think this story will tickle your fancy.
I can't say his name, so I don't say it.
Okay. Andre Cronje proposes to assist with the launch of meme coins on Phantom. Phantom seemingly coming back from the dead.
There's not a lot of meme coins on Phantom, and people seem to want that ecosystem on their chain. It's like, oh, let's get meme coins in here.
It's literally caused the crash for Solana, so I guess...
I read a little bit of what he posted, and it's encouraging people to contact him directly via DM on X and Telegram. I was just trying to imagine his inbox after putting out something like that.
Oh goodness, yeah. He's quite the character, and
You're inviting like a lot of BS too. You know, he's gonna have to sift through a lot of crap. I would think.
Oh yeah, the security concerns I would have with that number of DMs.
Yeah, just saying this is a little shady to me.
Yeah, but he's
Who
always
says that?
been the lifeblood of Phantom. Like the fact that he's back I think, is what's taking Phantom from a Phantom back to a living chain again. I'm interested to see what he has to say and what happens, because it'll be interesting to see if meme coins end up on Phantom and if Phantom comes back to life. That being said, Frentech making some news.
This is building off that big degen airdrop success, maybe flash in the pan. Seems like it's come and gone already.
Yeah.
But, you know, building off of that, yeah.
Yeah, they're likely to drop a token soon, according to some news on Twitter, with SocialFi season seeming to gear up a little bit with Farcaster related airdrop degen. Is SocialFi going to be the next kind of airdrop season that we see right now? Maybe.
Kind of a surprise narrative. It caught me off guard, but I really don't use any of these, so flew under my radar, that's for sure. I didn't see degen.
I didn't see degen coming, but Frentech's been around a while, but it got really hypey with referral links, and then
Do you use any of these SocialFi things?
I've tried a couple of them, but I've not been big into them because I haven't found them filling a need for me, at least right now. But if you're a big influencer, it's a good way to make money.
Well, Degen Chain also had some other news. They're going to do a $10 million worth of Degen. I'm not really sure. It's not really clear. For teams to deploy on Degen week, quote unquote. That's this week. So we'll see if anything comes of it. Starting today, we're recording Monday through Friday. So they're trying to pump it back up because it does seem like it went nuts and then it disappeared compared to its relative height. We'll see if they can keep it going.
Yeah, and then Binance is looking to list the AI-related token Tau BitTensor, which is one of the largest market cap AI-related tokens at 3.5 billion. They had a pretty big run-up, but the fact that they weren't even available on Binance, generally this could be bullish news, at least a pump and a dump. Worth watching when it does come on Binance. Remember, this is not financial advice, and we are not financial advisors. Please do your own research because this is only education and entertainment. Like, subscribe. We've got a goal of hitting over 10 likes and 5 new subscribers this week. We would really appreciate it if you guys help us hit our goal. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the news next week.
Thanks, y'all.